it's Helen from Witchcrafts. Just before we get into opening this lovely box, which came the other day but I haven't had a chance to open it yet, I just wanted to thank everybody that's already subscribed to my channel. I'm so very nearly at the 100 subscribers that I need in order to be able to give away these wonderful art supplies. Just to show them in a bit more detail, it's a lovely set of watercolour paints together with a booklet of A6 size, which is postcard size watercolour postcards, and all we have to do in order to win this is to get me to 100 subscribers. So if you haven't already done so, it'd be very much appreciated if you could subscribe. So let's have a look at what we have got in this month's ScrawlrBox. So these are the goodies. Let's move those out of the way for a minute. Oh, and there's the, always get a sticker, so that's good. I'm building up quite a collection of these. And that's the menu. So each month they feature a artist, and oh, I know this artist. This is Cy Mitchell, who's a sort of graffiti graphic artist, and he's done work for various bands. Yeah, so I've heard of his work before, really good. And we've got some paper. This feels like quite thin, smooth paper, so let's have a look at what we're going to have in the goodies parcel. So what we got? So we always get a sweet. So we got a mint toffee this time. So we've got an eraser. It's not a putty eraser. This is a, oh, it's just a regular eraser. And then we've got a liquid chrome pen. Can't get the lid off. Oh, it's got a seal. Oh, so it looks like we're going to have to charge that one. So that is a liquid chrome marker, alcohol-based marker. Allows you to create high gloss mirrored effects will write on almost any surface. Then we have got some Pilot Pintor markers. Again, haven't heard of these, so we'll have a look. So okay, so these need charging as well. So there's 3 of those. There's a gold one, sort of green colour. There's a black one which is a bit smaller, and there is a white one. So there's actually 4. So there's 2 in the medium nib, a black one in the fine nib. Let's have a look at that. Okay, that's what that looks like. And then the white, that's a really fine nib. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and there's also a graphite pencil. I think this is an H, so it's a slightly harder pencil. Yes, it's the H, the hard H lead, which is good for technical drawing, this kind of drawing. And then the paper is Canaletto Liscio 125 gram paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to charge all of these pens up, and then we'll do some swatches. Okay, so I've charged all the pens. They took quite a lot more than the 3 to 4 pumps that it said that they should take, but I eventually got the ink to flow in all of them. So let's have a look at what they're like. So this is the gold Pilot medium nib. It's very gold, it's very smooth. Okay, next we'll try the green Pilot medium nib. That's nice too. Doesn't flow quite as well. They're sort of, they're paint pens, I suppose, a bit like Posca ones. Now the black, now this is the narrower nib. This is a 1mm, whereas these are 1.4. So the black, that's nice. I like that. That's a little bit of a frayed nib, but it looks like you could get quite a thin line out of that. And then the white one, this is extra fine, this one, so this is 0.7, so this is even narrower. Obviously it's really hard to see white pen on white paper. It's a little bit translucent, it's not that opaque, it's not as opaque as a Posca paint pen. And then finally, this is the liquid chrome marker, which I'm quite excited to try out. Oh, that's amazing. That's unlike any other silver marker I've ever tried. I don't know if you can see this, but when I'm drawing, the ink sort of, some of it soaks into the paper and leaves behind sort of it does say on the pen, a mirror finish, but that's lovely. That dries really quickly as well, and surprisingly for alcohol based markers, they don't really have a smell, which is great because Sharpies tend to give me a headache. So the prompt for this box is paper tiger, which to me, if you know what the idiom means, a paper tiger is something or someone who appears to be powerful and scary, but in actual fact is not in the slightest. So it doesn't give much guidance as to how you're meant to interpret this, so I'm guessing it's open to interpretation. But just using the supplies that came with the box, including the pencil, which I've forgotten. So yeah, it's just an H pencil. You have to be quite careful with these because when it comes to then trying to rub out the lines, if you've used your H pencil and you've pressed too hard, it's almost impossible to rub the lines out afterwards. That's why I usually prefer to use a softer lead. Okay, so I had a think and I've decided to take the prompt of paper tiger quite literally, and I've sketched out using the H pencil the outline of a tiger's head that sort of, you have to imagine it's been folded like a piece of origami out of paper. So now what I need to do is add some colour. The colours that they've provided aren't particularly tiger-like. There's the gold, I suppose. So what I think I'm going to have to do is, although the challenge is to just use the supplies in the box, if I want to add any kind of shading or realistic colours, then I think I'm going to have to use some additional supplies, but make sure that I try and incorporate as many of these into the design that I come up with as I can. So what I decided to do was use my Prismacolor pencils because I haven't really had much of a chance to use them, and they had a good selection of different oranges and yellows in the pack, which was really good. The first thing I noticed about these, and I think I commented on this in the previous video, is how soft the graphite, lead, pigment, whatever you want to call it, is. And I had to stop and sharpen them quite a few times because they were going blunt very, very quickly. And this isn't a huge piece, and I wasn't pressing particularly hard because I can't. So I was a little bit surprised at how quickly they wore down, although having said that, they do put a good amount of pigment onto the page. So I did have to stop and sharpen them quite frequently, which was a little bit annoying, but not too bad. So the yellow first of all, and then this darker orange shade on some of the areas. As soon as I used this orange shade, I thought I'd made a horrible mistake because it was really quite a vibrant colour, and I didn't think that it would fit in particularly well with the other colours, but looking at it again, I think it actually stood out quite nicely, gave the tiger orange eyes. So once I'd finished colouring in the coloured yellow and orange parts, I decided to use black Prismacolor coloured pencil to add a bit of tone and shading to some of the areas, and immediately I realised this was a mistake, that I should have just used a graphite pencil, a soft lead graphite pencil, because as you can see the black went on quite a lot thicker and darker than I was expecting it to. But then I used a blending stump. If you don't know what these are, they're just like a rolled up paper that's been compressed into a stump shape, and you just use it to blend pigment around, usually pencil, but I think you can use them for other things as well, like maybe oil pastels or chalks, but I've only ever used them for blending pencils. And then if the tip gets worn down, you can just use some sandpaper to just rub to get the point back again, and they're fantastic because they're really inexpensive, but they work incredibly well. Then I just decided I wanted to add a little bit of a darker orange shade around some of the parts of the tiger's face, and then I could have left the white parts white, but I decided I was going to try and use as many of the supplies that came in the ScrawlrBox as I could, so I thought why not use the white paint pen, which was great, but the only problem was it's such a thin nib, such a fine nib, that it was going to take me forever to try and cover all of the areas that needed to be covered. So I went back to my old faithful Posca paint pen, which has got a much broader nib, and I was able to put the paint down onto the paper much more speedily. And then I used the black Pilot pin tool marker, which is a 1mm nib. It's quite a lot fatter than I would have chosen. I would have used one of my Micron fine liners to do this ideally, because I didn't want the lines to stand out quite as dramatically as they have ended up doing, but it lined really well. It went over all of the Prismacolor without any problems, because sometimes coloured pencils can be a bit waxy and you struggle to put anything over the top of them, especially when it's ink from a pen. And it also went over the where I just gone across the lines a little bit with the Posca paint pen. It went over that quite nicely as well, without really any noticeable change in the colour of the lines I was drawing. And I think actually it's turned out really well. I think it works quite nicely with the graphic theme of what I was trying to achieve with this picture. And I just went back with the fine line white paint pen that came in the ScrawlrBox and just neatened up some of the corners slightly where some of the black lines were a little bit wobbly. And there he is. I realised I hadn't used the gold or the green paint pen, so I just thought I'll add a little bit of an embellishment in the bottom corners using those. The green one is quite scratchy. I think that needs a bit more charging before that's fully able to be used, but I just added that at the bottom, and there he is, all finished. Although I did go back in and add a bit of shading to the white areas. So overall, what do I think of this month's ScrawlrBox? Really good. Really like the paint pens, particularly like the silver chrome pen, that's fantastic. I like the Pilot markers, they're good quality, and the paper was nice and smooth to draw on. I like the theme, I like the graphic style. So overall, yeah, a good month this box. I'm looking forward to the next one. If you want to follow me on social media, here are links to all of my other channels. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already done so, and ring the bell to get notifications, and give this video a like if you enjoyed watching it. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!